Yo, it's your boy Lee, and today we're doing yet another My Hero What If. This is what if Deku had the 10tails. This would all start off with, the 10tails being sealed within Deku. Uh, yeah. Um, so let's just say that the 10tails is, let's just say that Hasashi's quirk in this one is a sealing quirk instead of a fire one. So, yeah, him being in this version of Hero, basically he would steal the 10tails in Deku, and he would end up dying. And yeah, so yeah, Deku is eventually gonna grow up to the age of 4, where most people would get their quirks, and Deku would find out that he does not have one. Deku would pretty much being pretty sad about this, as he would think that he had one because the way he is, because you know how if you have the fucking 10tails, you're gonna have run and gun, which Deku does have. He just doesn't know how to use it. And you're gonna have white hair, and you're just gonna look like that. So Deku would eventually get to his preschool. And he would tell everybody about how he doesn't have a quirk, no Bakugo, and eventually other people would start bullying him. And he would get pretty mad and angry about this. So, Deku, after this, he would go home and he would start the train, and they would still bully him, but it's been going on for like a year, so it's a year time skip. And that's where Deku's gonna get his first, or use his first Rinnegan ability. It's gonna when Bakugo is trying to bully him, and it kind of like the same situation that happened when the show first began. He tried to take his book and, burn it, but Deku just used Shinra Tensei, and, he got pushed away. Bakugo hitting the wall, and people looking at Deku, and everybody would gravitate towards Deku, asking, "Oh, you just activated your quirk." As Deku really ain't saying nothing to them, cause they ain't friends. So he would just dip, as Bakugo would hold that grudge against him for the rest of his life. Deku would basically train and do all the things that Deku should have been doing in the actual anime, but I guess not. Eventually, it would get to the time of middle school where the show would actually start off. Deku, he's just sitting in the class near the end of it, and since the teacher's assignments are pretty much done, Deku's packing his bags, as the teacher would bring out the papers for the applications for what did they want to do when they grow up. He would just eat them shits on the floor, and he would just say y'all and become heroes. That's when Deku would eventually leave after he packed his bag, because he knows that he has enough power to become heroes, as he has multiple abilities. As Deku is walking throughout the hallway, about to leave after he's getting his stuff from the locker, he would see our Bakugo and his goons would go to basically try to jump him on the last day of school. So they would go out to the sides of the fucking school, waiting for Deku to walk out. Once Deku eventually does, they would all run at him, and Bakugo being in the front, saying that he was gonna kill him with explosions going throughout his hands, as they're all immediately thrusted into a fight. Deku pretty much annoyed that they even came here. Like, why are you here? Why are you following me? Deku would just use Shinra Tensei to push half of them away. Then where Bakugo would run up again using his explosions to make himself float and fly, he would come near Deku, and Deku will just, well, absorb, will just the fucking, absorb the explosion. Bakugo being a little bit confused, Deku would shoot a rocket throughout the other hand, making Bakugo fly away. He at least fly 35 feet away, as Bakugo is trying to recover, but it's not easy, as the other goons are running at Deku, barely having a chance. The one with the red wings would fly at Deku, but Deku would just grab his head and slam into the ground, as he would put his hands up and he would gesture for them to come over here, as the other two would go at him. They would both try to tag team, as they would both throw a couple of hits. Deku would hit one in the side, kicking him, and the other one would fly back just by the sheer strength of Deku. Deku, well, pretty much dealing with the goons, was kind of caught off guard for just a millisecond of when Bakugo tried to throw an explosion, because Bakugo kind of went silent and deadly on him real quick. So, for just a millisecond, just the smallest point of a second, he was off guard. And since he was off guard and he got a little jumpy, a little scared, his true sinking orbs would activate, and Bakugo's explosion would fucking hit it, as it would hit one of the true seeking orbs, as it didn't do anything. Bakugo being totally astonished at his power, is just confused at this point. The true seeking orbs would eventually disappear, and Deku would just turn around and basically just punch Bakugo in the face, because he's just standing there. As Bakugo was knocked out, and so is the others, Deku would fly away, as I think the 10tails powers can do that, right? Let's just say it can. So Deku would eventually fly away, and he would eventually get to his house. He would say hi to his mom, as he would begin his 10 months of training, and also do a little studying for UA, because he has to be smart too. He already knows he's strong, but the brain still counts. During this 11 months, he would go to Degoma Beach, because through the time that he was flying around from home, like I just recently said, he would see Degoma Beach and he would think, oh, that's a cool place to train. It's big and no one's there, so I can just clean it up and train there. And Deku would eventually get home, just like I already said, and he would do all that. And now we're back to the present, where Deku would be at Degoma Beach. At this point, All Might would come over there, at least Small Might would, and he would be trying to look for a new successor. So he would see Deku sitting there. Deku would be pretty much thinking about what he's doing, and he can see that Deku is hard and thought about what he's doing, and yeah. And Deku would just go behind all the trash, like he would push it away from him, and just to make it all go near each other, or all just go into all one thing, he would just Shinra Tensei it, and it would all just fucking move away. So Deku just did that, and now he can finally start his training. As All Might just saw him clean the beach in less than a couple of seconds, All Might would run over to the kid, and he would just go into his All Might form, and he would start talking to him. As All Might and Deku were having this conversation, All Might would ask his name and quirk. Deku would tell him that his name was, Azuka Midoriya, and his quirk, he doesn't have one. As All Might would try to comprehend and understand what Deku just did back there if he doesn't have a quirk, because it doesn't make sense to All Might. So Deku would just say, I have this extraordinary power that I just don't know how it happened. As they have that little talk, more training would go down, and Deku would train with All Might for the 10 months. And over time, Deku would summon the King of Hell, and All Might would go in it, being fully healed from his injury. So now he doesn't have to give one for all to anybody. He can easily be all for one, and even if he like when he does be all for one, and if he gets like extremely hurt like he did before, he can always get healed by the King of Hell. So Deku pretty much just being that good, you would eventually get to, the end of the 10 months, the day of the entrance exam. Deku wouldn't really scream on top of the fucking thing because, he already did it by then, so, yeah. He would eventually just fly to school, something because, a janky landing, I'll just say he almost tripped. But Uraraka, pretty much helped him out, and they would have a short little talk, as Deku would go into the written exam, and he would write that. He would just do what he has to do. She's just that good. So Deku would do that, and eventually they would get for the explanation for the road exam. President Mike would explain it as Deku's mumbling his plan. Ida would tell him to shut up. Deku would just say okay, as they would eventually get outside to the gate. Once they do get outside to the gate, they would see, okay. As Deku would just fly up there, and he would just fly and start already fucking up robots. As people would think he was cheating, President Mike would say that this kid is totally is not in the wrong. So, just keep running. As the gate was open and everybody's running, Deku was already destroyed 30 robots by the time anybody would even start, and Deku was zooming through these. He's shooting missiles from out his hands. He's fucking Shinra Tensei, he's using the Shinra Tensei to pull robots. He's using Banjo Tenin to push robots into walls and breaking them. Like, bro, he's doing some work. And, Deku is pretty much near the end of the match, surrounded by three-pointers as people are running away from the zero-pointer. Deku is in a predicament of helping out himself or helping out the girl, Uraraka, that's pretty much stuck under the rocks, as pretty much one of the robots swing at Deku. Deku would grab the arm and he would crush it as the other one is swinging too, and so is the other two are swinging. As Deku would get hit by one of them, making himself farther away from Uraraka, making it a lot easier for that Zo Pointer to fucking crush her. As Deku would use all of his might to fucking use the missiles and blow up the two robots, and he would use 5 more missiles to blow up the Zo Pointer and fly to Uraraka. He would eventually do this, but it would just be so fucking janky, bro. It's like it did not barely. It's kind of weird to explain because he did it, but he did it in the most abnormal way of all time. Because the whole thing kind of you didn't expect him to do it ever since he got hit, but then you just forgot he got rockets. So Deku would save Uraraka, and since Deku would be training in Jutsu because he does have the 10tails, Deku in this one since he's not being bullied by the 10tails, he would actually, well, he's not being bullied by anybody like how Naruto was. If he had, like how Naruto was, because he had the fucking 9 tails. But since Deku has the 10 tails and he's not being like fucking horribly bullied, because at this point people stopped messing with Deku once they knew that he fucked up Bakugo. So yeah. So since Deku can actually make friends with him, because he actually thanks the 10tails for giving him all of his power, and they would actually bond. And 10tails is on Deku's side, so yeah. So Deku would basically like heal her, knowing like medical ninjutsu because of the 10tails, because they're on each other's sides. And yeah, she would get pretty much healed, and she would say thank you. And he would say it would be no problem. As yeah, he would start basically flying away. As All Might watching this would smirk, and Aizawa would be a pretty like interested in Deku, because this kid literally just used multiple abilities, and Deku would eventually get home while a whole bunch of other people, like the actual examinees, the fucking proctors, are always talking about him because what he just fucking did. Like at this point, they couldn't really tell from a pro hero to Deku, so Deku would eventually, get his note after 2 weeks of, not hearing anything, and he would see, oh, I got in. He would be pretty happy about this, as All Might would tell him to enjoy his Hero Academia. As once Deku would get ready to go to UA the next day, and he would arrive flying through, and yeah, he would be in the class, or at least try to find it, and he would eventually find it. He would open the class door. He would see, as Bakugo and Ida are arguing, he doesn't really care about them right now, so he would just walk past them as Ida is trying to talk to him, because, yeah, he knows that Aizawa is there. He senses everybody. Everybody has chakra, but no one can use it unless you have the 10tails. So Deku would be able to, sense that Aizawa is there. And plus, since Deku has the 10tails, he can just sense anybody. He can sense emotions itself. Just how Naruto can sense emotions with the 9 tails, he can sense emotions with the fucking 10tails. So, and it's on a higher scale because he's actually bonding with it. And plus, it's the 10tails. So Deku, that's fucking super powerful. As Deku would sit down, the other students would go up to talk to him. He would introduce himself, and they would introduce themselves. And eventually, Uraraka would come in there. And Uraraka would basically thank him again for saving her, as she would sit down, and Aizawa would tell other people in the class to shut up, as they were pretty much speaking. Aizawa would tell them about the apprehension exam, and they too go downstairs. And once they would get downstairs to basically change into their UA uniforms and start doing the work, Deku would eventually get handed a ball, and Deku would ask what he wants him to do with this. As I know chakra is supposed to be like the power scaling in Naruto, but we're putting like something from Naruto in like My Hero Academia, and Deku is stronger than All Might in his prime. So it's like I don't know, but I think Naruto will be able to beat All Might. Cause it doesn't matter how fast, it doesn't matter how strong All Might is. Naruto can just keep on using substitution jutsu. Like he has so much chakra that at this point All Might will just fucking give up. Like Naruto's too strong. And yeah, Deku. What was I about to say? He was about to throw the ball, as Deku would basically, I'll say he could throw the ball for the highest score. I'll say he'll get Infinity because I don't really know the power scaling for. I don't know the power scaling, so let's just not doubt him. Let's just say he gets Infinity on that, and he continues on to get number 1 as Deku would continue on to get number 1. Bakugo and Todoroki, they would be quite mad, but Todoroki more interested in anything. They would eventually, meet All Might days later for, the exam, as they would see it's a real versus villains. Deku would get, put with Uraraka versus Bakugo and Todoroki. Todoroki pretty much covering everything in ice. Deku, noticing this at the last second, would have to basically, use his chakra to step through the ice and break it, as he's pretty much picking up Uraraka. And since he's always sensing emotions because of the 10tails, he knows that Bakugo is really trying to find him. Like he knows that this nigga is on something. He knows that Todoroki doesn't even seem like he's trying to be competitive at all. Like, then, he's pretty much saying, okay, I think I got this. As Deku would start flying up there to get faster, and he'd start to pass right by Bakugo. Bakugo being a little bit confused for a second, realizing that that's Deku, he would start using his explosions to get upstairs, and it would just be both teams up on the 5th floor. As Uraraka would be put down, or actually be thrown near the bomb, as Bakugo would basically catch Uraraka. They just throwing him around because she ain't trying to make him catch the bomb. Uraraka would basically make Bakugo float. Bakugo's floating while he's trying to use his explosions, and it's not really working for him. And eventually, Deku would outspeed Todoroki, and they would win. So that's where I'm going to leave this one off. Bye.